So we put all this bracing up against these walls to make them perfectly plumb. And then all the concrete is going to be dumped down inside of it. And put a hole down at the bottom of a few of these things just so that we can see the concrete pouring out, so that we know that it gets all the way to the bottom. And then when it starts pouring out, we plug the hole back up and it will fill up the cavity. These are all the rocks that I picked up from tilling that area over there. It looks a lot better without these walls. It was pretty ugly looking. You can see how ugly it is from out over here. Right? Okay, so here is where I'm at on the gate. So that's the piece that I cut that fits in there. And the gate's going to be mounted to it, right? Thing is that bar, or I should say those J-bolts, they are not, they do not create a plumb line, right? So when I put this bar on, it's also not plumb. But what I did do is I put this line here and there and there using this level. So I know I have a level reference on that bar, or a plumb reference on the bar, when I take it back to the shop. Okay. That way, with that reference line, I can take this little barrel hinge or teardrop hinge. It's shaped like a little teardrop there. So I've got 3 of these. And my plan is to take that back to the shop and weld it parallel with that line. So here's a little gate update. This thing is it's attached, and the only thing I have to do now is I'm not able to see how it aligns up at the tip to that tip when it's closed, because these bolts are sticking out too far. So I did put this hinge out a ways, and I think that even this bolt might be a little bit too sticking out too far. So I'm gonna go get my my cutter and just cut that off all the way down and see how that closes. And if it still needs a little bit more, I'll just go and shave a little bit of that off on the grinder. So what I did was these hinge things, I re-welded them on, and I have them sort of sticking out now this way. Before they were just sort of coming out this way. So I was thinking that the hinge from the gate coming down this way would be enough clearance on those bolts. And obviously it wasn't. So this is going to be plenty of clearance now. And I had to go back and forth a couple of times. I just sort of tacked it on to begin with. I had to go back to the gate where I had welded on the top part of the hinge, just to make sure everything was lining up okay, and it is. So I've gone ahead and welded off this side of it, and I'm just going to flip it over and weld it good on the other side, and then I'm going to go back out to the gate and test it out. Okay, well, I've got this gate is hung. And it is clearing these bolts, so it swings all the way closed, which is good. So the last issue then is just right there. So I need to close this gap right here so that the gate will close better. And the way I'm going to do that is by just shimming this thing right here out just a little bit. So I put a little piece of, start off with a little piece of wood back there so that the bottom comes out, which of course will throw the top out, and it should lift this corner here up. Just a little movement down there will make a big change out here. So let's see what happens. Well, what I'm up to now is I have to put a steel beam going across to span a doorway as a header in this shop that I'm building, or reconstructing, or whatever you want to call it, remodeling. This right here is a 4-inch I-beam. It's kind of heavy duty. It's really good stuff. I've built a couple of different things with it, structures, porches and balconies. Anyway, so my brick man tells me, if my brick man being a mason that is working with me, tells me, here's what we can do, is we cut off a plate, right? And so pretend like this is 8 foot off the ground and it's the end of a span, okay? And so what we do is we cut this off right here, right? So we just have this piece, right? And then we'll weld on a big old J-bolt, like 6 inches, going down from there, and from there going down. And when we fill this with concrete, right, going up all the way up that 8-foot wall, fill this up with concrete with those J-bolts sticking down in there, this plate will be sitting there. And then this 10-foot I-beam coming in, so this is just a, you know, obviously not 10 feet, but it'll go 10 feet off that way, spanning from to another one of these things that's on the receiving end. And so this will sit right here, and I'll just weld it in, okay? And so that's what I'm doing. You know, I don't have any plate, you know, so any of this stuff that, you know, isn't an angle iron. So I'm just using the angle iron. And it doesn't really, I don't really like it that much. Maybe I'll wait and get some actual 4-inch plate. I got all set up to cut it and do it, but now that I think about it, tomorrow I'm gonna get some plate for it. Just a quick update on this shed. See that window there? I've got it reframed in with those blocks, and just heating it up so that the cement cures. I've gone through and put cement in all of these, and over the top of that wall over there, where the other wall is, the outside wall, I put cement in down that way. And so tomorrow I'm going to come in and I'm going to straighten this wall up. I'm going to push that up that way. I'm going to put new blocks in here with concrete going down, and actually tie the blocks in to this over here with rebar going down through it, so there's no way this will ever tear away. And then I'm going to put, I've got over there on that trailer, I've got some steel beams, and I put a steel beam coming across here and another steel beam going across there, and that way I can put 20-foot, these here 2x12s that are 20 foot coming across here and then going across there, and that'll be my floor joists for the room in the attic. Cold out, and I've put cement in these walls down the holes. And of course these walls, when it gets them really hot, it helps cement to cure. So now I'm just in the process of ripping off this front end here. It just has these little concrete block pillars going up. I think this originally, when this thing was built, you can see that window back there. I think this was built as this was just like a porch or something. And over here, in the earlier video, I showed a big gap behind this wall, which I'm in the process of fixing. I've got heat back behind that thing right now as well. So I'm going to get rid of the pillars, and I'm just going to frame this area in here with, got a bunch of wood here with these 2x8s. These are 8-footers, and over here I've got 2x8 20-footers. And over there 2x12 20-footers. So I take these plates, and this bolt right there sticks all the way down into the concrete, you know, kind of like a J-bolt, but in this case I found these things. These were extra, so rather than using the J-bolts, I'm just going to sink this into the concrete. and then I'll tie these plates down, and that's what the beam will sit on top of, and I'll just weld the beam to that. So it's like I've said, they didn't put any rebar in there. This has got some cement in it, that's good. But, you know, there's no rebar in there. Makes it easy to take down, I guess. And here we are after tearing down that wall. Just gotta go get my tractor and clean that up. So there was no rebar in there, where there was some rebar in this one. It only came up this high. So I think at one point there were no walls here. These had some 4x4 posts in here, 3 of them. They came out pretty, I guess, easily, given that the base had rotted away, literally. You can see these wet pieces of wood here. It's just rotted wood from the bottom of the 4x4. I knew that kid was around here somewhere.